before reformatting it. Then what you can do is plug in that USB drive into your PS5. And then back on the PS5. We're gonna go back into our system settings and go down to backup and restore. Select that option and back up your PS5. Select the USB drive and say yes. I would back up your screenshots and video clips. Your saved data, you can edit the games and apps section. And then uncheck any games and apps that you're not wanting to back up. And then confirm it. And then you can go ahead and back that up to the USB drive. And just let that run. It will reboot your PS5. But once it's finished, you'll be able to unplug that USB drive, okay? So back on the computer, when you plug the USB drive in, you'll see a PS5 folder. All you need to do is copy that somewhere safe on your computer. Keep it for safekeeping so that you can always restore that backup in the future. To be able to re-access those save files and other applications that you had installed previously. So once you have it backed up, you can then delete that folder from the USB drive. Just head into the releases section on the repo for the latest version and download the backup zip file here and get that copied over to your computer. So have it right here. If we open this up, we have a PS5 folder. We just drag that into the root of our USB drive, just like the backup that we already created. So we copy this backup onto our USB, plug that USB drive into the PS5. Then on the PS5 we just go back to the backup and restore option. This time restore your PS5. Select the USB drive and there it is, YouTube jailbreak 1.2. We select it and restore that backup file onto our PS5. And then we just wait for that to complete. So after restoring that backup file, if you go to the media section, you should now have the YouTube application installed. You do also want to go into your settings and network settings and go to settings, set up an internet connection. If you're using a wired connection, the settings should already be set up for you. If you're using a wireless connection, they might not be. So just make sure you press the options and go to advanced settings. And then check your primary DNS. The DNS settings should be set to manual. And the primary DNS should be set to 7DOT. If it's not, then just put in that information and click OK. Now, just select that registered network with X, so it can attempt to connect to it. It will say it cannot connect to the internet, but it should still be connected to your local network. Then head back into the settings and go to System Software Console Information, and just check that you have a valid IPv4 which means you are connected to the network. S019 to DOT16.156 in my case. So now we can go ahead and run the YouTube application, which will trigger the exploit. And there it goes, we can click OK to the PlayStation sign and message. And that is it up and running. Now all we need to do is send the payload, which will actually jailbreak the console. So we can download the payloads by just heading back to the main page and going to the code and downloading it as a zip file, because that contains the payloads. Extract that zip to your computer. If we open it up, we have payloads in here. And the lapse payload is the one we want to send. So I'm gonna use Netcat GUI to send the payload. Obviously, you can use any payload injector that you want to use as long as it can send a JavaScript files. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag and drop the payload into Netcat GUI. Enter the IP address of our PS5 here in the host box. And then the port number should be 50,000 and click Inject Payload. And when we click Inject Payload, you'll see that on the PS5 itself, it starts running the exploit. There we go, lapse version 1.0, and once it automatically closes the YouTube application. And it's now running the ELF loader on port 9021, so you can inject a payload to jailbreak the console, like ETA hen or K stuff. Now, sometimes when you try to load the lapse kernel, it will tell you that it failed and you have to reboot the console. If that happens, just restart. Load YouTube again and then repeat the process until it works. Because it doesn't always work the first time. So now that it's up and running, you can download the ETA The latest release, I'll leave it in the description, which this version only works up to 8.20 at the moment. I did say you could use this all the way up to 9.60. So if you want a version of ETA hen that works right up to 9.60, you can go into the Package Zone Discord server, which I'll leave a link to in the description. In the ETA hen public test channel, you can find the latest test build of ETA hen, which does work up to 9.60, and it's in the pinned section on Discord. And you'll find the latest ELF file there that you can download at the latest version of ETA. Because I'm running on an older firmware, I can just use the version from the main release. So at that point, we can go ahead and download that ETA drag it into our payload injector and this time change the port number to 90 because we're now injecting this using the ELF which loader, is still running in the background on our PS5. So when we inject the payload here, it starts running ETA hen. There it goes, it's starting up. Here we go, ETA hen loading the toolbox, and there it is. It is now up and running. So we basically have the console jailbroken now in just a couple of simple steps. So if we go into the settings, we now have the ETA hen toolbox. And there it is, we have all of our jailbreak options right there. Okay, so last just a quick demonstration of how you can install PS as well as PS5 applications. If we go back onto the computer and go to our USB drive, we can take any fake packages for the PS4, which is how you install PS for games. They are in these .pkg files, and if I open them in PS for package viewer, it tells me down in the bottom left-hand corner what the version is. If it's a retail version or a fake package version. Fake versions are the ones you want to be load them on a jailbroken PS5. So this is how you install all of your PS4 applications on a jailbroken PS5 is through these package files. So I've got a package file here for Resident Evil 4, a remake, and this one has the separate ways DLC and also an update file. There are also package files, your DLC and updates are all package files. So I can just copy those to the root of the USB to install them on the PS5. And once we have those copied when it comes to running PS5 games are loaded differently. They're basically just stored in folders. So all of the extracted game files are just stored in a folder. And they're loaded from that folder. So all you need to do is create an ETA hen folder on the root of your USB drive. Make sure it's ETA in lowercase characters and hen in uppercase characters. I believe it is case sensitive. I could be wrong, but I think it is. So then go into the ETA hen folder and then create a games folder inside there. All lowercase, and then inside that folder, you're gonna then copy any of your game dump folders that you have. For any games, I'm using Hogwarts Legacy as an example. And I'm just going to copy that in there and wait for it to transfer. Once that's all copied we can plug that USB drive back into our PS5. And then from there, we can simply go into our settings menu, scroll down to ETA hen toolbox, and go to the package installer. And the package installer will allow you to install any applications that you put on there. And you can hit install all, and it will install all of those package files for Resident Evil 4. Once they're installed, you'll be able to see. It shows up on the homepage as a normal application. And as long as you're running ETA hen or case you'll be able to load that application by selecting it with X. And you can see it now loads on the console. So that's how you get your PS for applications installed and running on a jailbroken PS5. So now that we've confirmed we've got PS for games we can close out of that game and now try and run which is loaded differently. We just go back into the settings and the ETA hen and this time we simply scroll down to the Webman Games section. And if we select that, we should see that our game dump appears in the list. And the one that's on the USB Hogwarts Legacy. And I can select it and it will run that game. So that is the basics of how you get things up and running. And just as a quick side note, if you edit your network settings, you can change the IP address from 1 to 7 DOT, which is what's recommended by the developer. You can change it to a 6 to DOT, to 10 DOT, 38 DOT 117. And this is a DNS blocker. So for the most part, the YouTube jailbreak will still work in most cases. But sometimes it might not using that particular address. But the benefit of that address is that you can still get internet access on the PS5 while blocking Sony's servers so that you don't get any system updates. And then that will allow you to do things like install applications like the Homebrew Store, which you can just select. And that will go ahead and download that onto your PS5. And once that's downloaded, just as you can see there, we can then launch the Homebrew Store. And then you can use the Homebrew Store to install other useful Homebrew applications for the PS5. For instance, we can install the Items Flow application, which is probably the other big important application to have installed on a jailbroken Items PS5. Flow Game Manager, it's the first application in the list. And we'll select download and install. And then we can download that over the internet. So that's another thing just you can reconnect up to your network properly so so that you'll be use homebrew applications. We can press the options button to close out of that application, and now we can run items flow. There we go. This is our kind of universal game launcher. Can allow you to run your PS4 and PS5 games. So that's the general idea on how you get set up with this jailbreak. So again, huge thanks to the developer Gajine or Gajinium, who definitely deserves a lot of support. They've been staying up pretty much with sleepless nights trying to get this working, and it is now up and running. So if you appreciate the work, if you're somebody who wasn't able to jailbreak your PS5 but now before, you can because of this exploit, then maybe consider leaving a donation to the developer. I'll leave the donation page down in the video description because they've done some fantastic work here. So anyway, that's gonna do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video.